Okay, good morning, everyone, and thank you for coming to this webinar entitled Networking to Get the Job You Want. One of the reasons for having this webinar is that I've been chatting to a number of friends of mine who are over 50 and who have really been struggling in finding a job and even getting interviews. So I just reflected back on my career and how I got to most of my jobs, and I would have to say it's been through networking. So that's going to be the discussion of how to get a job through networking over the next 30 minutes. So let me just share my screen and we will get started. So for those who don't know me, this is who I am. I'm Dr. Dion Klein. I'm the CEO of iPledge. I'm also the director of the WISE Academy, which is a registered training organization here in Australia. And I'm also a lecturer at Kaplan Business School up in Brisbane. And for my volunteer time, I am the chair of the IT Forum Gold Coast here in Gold Coast, Australia. So that's a little bit about my background. If you want to find out anything more, you're welcome to go to LinkedIn and just Google my name and link with me. That would be fantastic because that is also a part of networking, and we'll even talk about that a little bit as we go on. Here's a very interesting stat, and this is quite recent. Some experts say that 70% of people ended up in their current position thanks to networking. Other resources say it's more like 80% or even 85%. So through that, if we see that only anywhere from 15 to 30% of people get it through actually applying for jobs sight unseen, it makes sense that you need to get out there, get networking, start talking with a lot of people, letting them know that you're looking for a job, if that means that that's what it takes to get a job in today's environment. So what is employment networking? I'll just briefly state here, networking is really just connecting people. Even when we think about computer networks, it's connecting the computers together so they can talk with each other. And that's what traditional networking is as well in a social or business context, is that we're connecting friends, business people together, usually for a win-win outcome that benefits both parties. So employment networking is similar to that in the sense that you're accessing the contacts you have and solicit their assistance in helping you find employment. These people can find the job leads indirectly or directly for you. If properly used, it has the potential to create jobs. I've known people that they went out networking, they were talking to a company, they were sharing the skill sets that they had, and next thing you know, that company actually created a job for them because they could see that there were skills there, and so therefore they just created as well. I had that similar experience as well. I was hired for a job in Canberra, and it was mainly a corporate health position. And it was during the time of the .com era. And as soon as they hired me, they, in essence, really probably needed to fire me because that division of corporate health was no longer in existence. They, by the time I interviewed and accepted, and then by the time I started, they basically suggested that position be wiped out. When they looked at my resume, though, I had a lot of other skills, much more than corporate health, and they asked me to stay on and created another position in regards to a business analyst. So once again, this networking doesn't necessarily have to be outside of an organization. It can also be within the organization, which, as many people probably know, that companies like to hire within because they don't have to re-educate the person on the culture and maybe some of the systems that are happening in the workplace as well. The one thing about networking that's very important, whether it's in a social, business, or employment networking context, is it's not just about who you know, but who knows you. So when you start to get the word out that you're looking for a job and one person tells another and one person tells another, they start to remember you, and what you need to be is top of mind. That's the most important thing, because when somebody thinks of, oh, I need a social media marketing person, you want your name to be at top of mind, as opposed to saying, well, put it on Seek or Indeed or LinkedIn or whatever platform. So you can know a lot of people, but if they don't know who you are, then it almost becomes a moot point where nobody would really know you anyway. Okay. Other thing you need to reflect on is that the people that do know you, do they actually know you? Do they know your skill sets, your personalities? You know, are you an introvert or an extrovert? What's your work ethic? So all these little idiosyncrasies that we all have. And then do they like you? You know, most people will not hire others that they don't like. We won't do business with people that we don't like. And then the last thing is, do people trust you? This is a very important part in networking. There's much research out there showing that people will do business or hire with others that they actually trust. We cannot underestimate this whole aspect of trust in today's world, especially when many of us seem to live in a very virtual world where we're not quite sure if the picture that's on their profile is actually who they are in real life, or the qualifications that they have on their LinkedIn profile is actually who they are in real life. So this trust factor, or a trust quotient becomes very important. Socrates said, know thyself. And I think this is really one of the basic foundations that every person that's looking for a job needs to really sit down and reflect is, what do I want? Who am I? What career am I seeking? What can I offer a potential employer that will not only allow me to shine, but once I shine, that company will shine as well? It's almost like doing a SWOT analysis on yourself. And for those who have been around business, the SWOT analysis is a common term known as the strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. And many times we do it on business, but I believe that we do need to do that on ourselves as well in regards to personal reflection. So what are my strengths? What do I bring to the company to offer? Is it my analytical mind? Is it a particular skill set, such as Facebook marketing, or I can type really fast without many errors? Maybe you can bring a lot of networks or sales leads to the organization. So what are your strengths? What are your weaknesses? You know, many times when people are in interviews, they say they focus on their strengths, but very rarely do they bring up their weaknesses. And I think it's a good thing to bring up your weaknesses. We all have weaknesses, and that's the other part about being honest. I went to a recent networking function, and it was really regards to raising money. And the guy who was sharing his story, he said that one of the investors had asked him a question of, tell us why we should not invest in you. And I think it's a really powerful question, even when looking at employing somebody, is that question of, well, why should I not hire you? And that puts the person on the spot, not in a negative way, but it really gets them to reflect of what is your weakness. So many people, I myself included at particular times, have this sense of procrastination. So that might be, you know, why I should not hire you? Well, I do have a tendency to procrastinate and do projects to the last minute, but I still, when I am under a deadline, I definitely do rise to the occasion and get it done by that deadline. So I'm very deadline oriented. So some people could see that as a strength. Some people could see that as a weakness. I think it is very important to identify what are your weaknesses. Okay. Then the opportunities. So what are your own personal opportunities? Your opportunities might be that because of your strengths, that you're a continuous learner. That opportunity is that anytime you're given a task, even if you don't know that task very well, you will jump on the opportunity to learn it and to contribute to the organization. So what opportunities are out there? And what are some threats? A key threat in the work environment right now is the aspect of automation and technology. So one of the threats is that your mindset, and this could also be a weakness, but the threat is, let me just change that for a sec. One of the threats could be your age. Right now, I'm over 50. I'm fine with that. But I also know that there's a threshold that once people start to get to their 50s and over 50s, that employers are not hiring them as much. Now, there are some employers who do, and they actually have a policy that a certain percentage of their workforce is in that over 45, over 50 category. But that threat is, as I get older and I'm out of work longer, I become less hireable. And that has been discussed many times over. And once again, I'm not looking at that as a negative thing. It's just being very honest of where you are in this world. And where I was going with the automation is that is a threat. That jobs that you're applying for, that you're looking to do, might be modified due to technology and automation. So once again, that's another thing you need to look at. So this know thyself is actually I would say, the true foundation of moving forward to networking and looking for the job you want. So now that you've known yourself, now you need to look at, well, what job do I want? A lot of people will say, well, I'll take anything, especially out of desperation. My response to that is, be careful what you ask for. Be careful what you wish for. Be very clear. What's your ideal job? Write it down. What's the culture of the organization that you want to work for? What are the kind of people you want to work for? Some people may have a Christian background and you want to work for a faith-based organization. That's fine. Some of you might want to focus on working with a lot of young people or older people. What industry do you want to work in? So knowing that job that you want helps make things more clear, because when you decide then to go out to network, you're going to have a better understanding within yourself of who to speak with, what language to use, where to network, what industries to network in as well. Now, excuse me, if you don't know exactly the job you want, just write down a number of jobs that you think you want. Go on to the job search markets and find out who's hiring. What are they looking for? What qualities and skills and attributes and knowledge are they looking for? There's so many job search portals now that you can do a lot of your market research that'll help give you some ideas of what kind of job would you like or you may be interested in. So now we're looking at know the networking opportunities. Networking opportunities are everywhere. They really, really are. And the key thing, though, about networking is you have to, well, you don't have to leave your home, but it actually will work better if you leave your home. You can do a lot of social networking on LinkedIn or business networking. But what I've found is, once again, going back to, do they know you? Do they like you? Do they trust you? The quickest way of getting those three answers to yes is actually to go out and do some face-to-face networking. So your first point of contact for your networking opportunities is your own personal contacts, your network. And when we go through these, I hope that you're going to find that you have a very good network already. Your close friends. I'm sure most of your close friends have a job, work in workplaces. Maybe they have their own business. Maybe they're looking for someone with your skills and talents that they could hire even on a casual basis. Working casually is not a bad thing. For many people, even just working casually, it gives them that sense of confidence that they're still in the job fold and they're working on their various skill sets. Your relatives, your neighbors, social acquaintance, social club contacts, church members. Then you have your business contacts, educational contacts, and those could be people that you went to school with. Part of my network are some of my teachers. So I still use them over the years because they might have some other skill sets that I don't have, or even know people that I may not know, especially if it's looking at different cities, states, and countries, and any of your community contacts. Remember, all those people that you know in all these various categories probably either have their own business or are working for somebody. And all you have to do is ask them, hey, I'm looking for work in this area, whatever that area is. Can you keep your ears open to let me know if anything's coming up? And would you put a good word in for me? That's really the conversation to have with all of your networks. Your next contacts that would be in your network, these refer to or relate to many times people who have already had a job, and maybe they were made redundant or they left their job for whatever reason, or it doesn't matter. But these people, if you were in that job, you may know some of the sales representatives, the vendors that you work with, the suppliers, any consultants that your company may have used, or contractors. Trade association officers are great because they are very much in the know with your particular industry. They'll usually know what companies are looking for a job, and it becomes really good to have a great relationship with those people who are part of those trade associations. So you can see with just this slide and the previous slide, if you really write down people that would be in each category, so not only that group, but also this group, and key industry leaders, you'll have a plethora of people that you can call upon and just ask them, hey, do you know of anybody who's looking for a X, so social media, personal assistant, executive officer? Please let me know. I'm just out there looking for a new job. It's all about referrals. Once again, going back to that slide, do they know you? Do they like you? Do they trust you? If I know somebody, I like them, and I trust them, I'm definitely going to put my name on the line to refer them to somebody else to say they're a good worker, especially if I can't take them on at this point in time. LinkedIn. LinkedIn, I personally am a big fan of LinkedIn. I don't know anybody who has gotten a job through LinkedIn. I have to be honest with that. But what I have noticed is that I have put myself out there. My LinkedIn profile is very comprehensive, and it has got me some consulting throughout the years, and it's raised my profile. So this LinkedIn, they do have a job place or a place where you can apply for positions. The good thing about that is not as many people apply through the jobs through LinkedIn because it is probably a little bit more exclusive than if you were applying on Seek or Indeed or any of those other global job platforms. I know that some of those jobs on those platforms, they can get anywhere from 2 to 3 to possibly 800 applications. In LinkedIn, you can, when you apply for a job within that, you can actually see how many other people apply for that job or actually have looked at that job. So in one sense, you get a brief indication of how competitive that job is. So if you want to find out more how to set up a profile on LinkedIn, there's plenty of YouTube videos, and my own company, we do face-to-face LinkedIn seminars here on the Gold Coast. So if you want to know more, you're more than welcome to contact me on that. Moving on. Places to network. Okay, there's heaps of places to network. This is just a few. I mean, meetup groups are great. So if you go to meetup.com, even just working on your networking skills and going out there and finding out what people are doing is a good place. There's meetups for IT, business, tech, human resources. I've seen stuff on in our corridor here in the Southeast Queensland. There must be about 100 different meetup groups in business and technology that people can go to. So that would be my first port of call. Once again, exercise, fitness centers, when you get to know people, hobby clubs, co-working spaces are a new one where a lot of startup companies go to these co-working spaces, and you never know, they might be looking for some assistance. I hear they're great places to go and just hang out and meet up with different people. Coffee clubs. Conferences are fantastic. Conferences and trade shows, which are mentioned there. Walking around these trade shows, you're going to be talking with different companies. There's also job fairs and job expos out there, specifically for companies who are looking to recruit people into their association. Retreats, various classes, like I said, social media, volunteer organizations, alumni events, Chamber of Commerce. Many chambers of commerce will have networking functions at least once a month, and you don't have to be a member to go to some of their networking functions. You just pay a non-member fee. Various associations, LinkedIn groups are a good place to start a conversation. Leads groups and networking events that are specifically for speed networking events. Online forums, blogging. These are just some ideas for you. Once again, write them down. Write what meetup groups, put it in an Excel sheet, write down the meetup groups, see when their meetings are happening, go there, create a business card, even maybe, I just have a business card with your email address, your LinkedIn profile. If you happen to have a website, if that is conducive with the career that you're looking for. But when you go to these places to network, whether it's online or offline, be prepared to talk about yourself and to promote yourself. And we're not going to go into that, how to network in depth, but it's basically, in regards to finer detail. But today we're talking about how to network is, looking at who do you need to touch base with and have that conversation. So then once you go out and network and you ask people that know you, then follow up. You don't have to follow up straight away, but just touch base and maybe it might be 1 or 2 weeks afterwards and just say, hey, I'm just touching base. Has there been anything going on? Always when you're doing this networking to get a job, make sure you are writing the stuff down so you're keeping track of who you spoke with, what possible leads are there, who you sent your resume to, who has your information. I know it can be quite a very time-consuming and laborious process. It's very important that you at least create an Excel sheet so you can have a record of who you've been talking to. Because if you do this right, you'll be talking to so many people that you may in your mind lose track, and you need to write it down. This networking to get a job, it's a numbers game. The more you network, the more you increase your name being out there, the chances of you finding a job through networking is going to increase, almost guaranteed. So when we talk about networking to get a job, I'm not saying that this is the only way to do so. I still suggest continue to apply for jobs the quote-unquote traditional way of going through these job portals. I still believe that if you take on board what I've shared with you of how to use networking to find a job, that you'll probably find a job quicker that way than you might in applying for jobs the traditional way. And just remember these magic words. The first one is please. Like I said earlier, do you know of any jobs that are going on in your company, or do you know of any people who might be hiring? Would you please keep me at top of mind? I'm happy to send you my resume so you can have a look at what I do, or a link to my LinkedIn profile. I'd really appreciate if you could pass it on. Then, thank you. So I thank you for listening to this webinar. And if you have any questions, I'm more than happy to take them offline, or you can email me at drdion, DRDION, at wiseacademy.edu.au. Thanks very much, and I look forward to hearing from you, and have a great day. Thank you.